What's going on, guys? Tilo's Cards here. Today I'm going to be going through how I started getting into buying, selling, trading sports cards for a profit. None of this is the end-all be-all with the way you need to do it. This is just kind of how I got started and what I think is the best way to do it without it costing you a ton of money at first, and also figuring out if you enjoy it enough to keep doing it. So a little bit about me. I'm a commercial banker. I make commercial loans, real estate, lines of credit, stuff like that. So it's actually really similar. I'm in sales for my job, so doing this on the side is just kind of fun. I enjoy sports cards. Like to build my PC throughout it. So just to get started, I have 10 kind of points I want to talk about. I have on my computer over here. So just going to start out with the first one. The first one I have is don't jump in all at once. Say you have $1,000 set aside and you're like, hey, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna buy my first, however many cards it is, whether it's one or 50 with that 1,000. Some people like to do hundreds of cards and sell at cheaper prices. I tried that at one point and decided, hey, that's not for me. It's a lot of work to do just for a couple bucks on top of it. So I like to kind of be in that $50 to $250 range for a card if I'm buying with the plan to sell. But what I mean is, if you jump in all at once, you say, hey, I got $3,000 I want to put into cards, and you overspend and you haven't done your right research, then you're just out probably, if you sell back at what you got it for only, then you just wasted your own time. But most likely you take a loss on that, and then you're out, $500, $1,000 on what you did. So definitely kind of slowly trickle into it if you haven't done it before. If you're kind of familiar with it and you've been building your PC and you're saying, hey, I want to get in and start selling for a profit, on purpose at least, then it's a little bit different. You still just need to be really careful with what you're buying and what you're buying it for. And that kind of takes me to my second point, which is to diversify your portfolio. It's the same thing I tell my customers at the bank, which is just, don't buy $1,000 worth of Trevor Lawrence if that's all you have, right? You want to buy Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. You want to get into some basketball. I don't do basketball myself, but it can be really good. You want to buy, multiple guys. You don't just want to have all your money stuck in one person, because that person could tear their ACL. It's not Pokemon cards. These guys are real players. Their values fluctuate with how well they do and, how healthy they are as well. So definitely don't throw all your money into one person. Now, if it's your favorite player and it's your PC, again, that's a little bit different. But if you're buying to sell for a profit, don't buy all into one player. The third thing is similar to that too, and that's what I do, is buy what you like, right? Buy cards that if you don't sell, you're like, oh, I don't mind keeping it in the PC. It's a cool card. If I have to sell it a year from now, that's fine, because I like having it and I can, show it off and whatnot. So I like Impeccable. I like Immaculate. I like Panini One. Those are really what I buy to sell. And so if I don't end up selling it for what I want, I don't mind keeping it and then, waiting for the opportunity to sell it, at least for what I got it for, if not for a couple of dollars on top. Fourth thing is, don't be afraid to take a loss on something that you've had for a while in order to get into something else. So I have a lot of soccer I bought over the past 6 months or so, and I've done pretty well with it. It's actually a soccer card I made the most profit on a single card before. But I also had some today I just sold. I think I took a $60 loss overall on it. It was 4 cards total, just to get out of them so I could get into something else. And that loss is mainly because I bought them from China. So there's a $20 shipping there on, 3 different cards, and that's about 60. So, I was doing that to build the PC and kind of decided, I got in some nicer ones of those players. It was Neymar, De Bruyne. So I decided, hey, I'm going to sell these off, get back into football with this money, and I can make back that 60 with the next purchase, right, if not more. So just don't be afraid to take a loss if something is just sitting in your PC and you're like, hey, I need to move this so I can get into something else. I bought nicer cars. I'm ready to move these. You don't have to sell for what you got it back for, right? Especially if it's been a while, players' markets change. It's okay to take a loss if you can, right? It's better to have that money to put into something else than for it to just be sitting in your PC and you're like, hey, I don't want this card anymore, right? I think one of them I bought for $275 and I ended up selling it for $240. Another one I had bought for $245 and sold it for $230. And again, that's okay, right? It's $15. You can make that back, right? It's not a huge deal. To me, it's just sometimes it's just better to have that cash to spend on new deals rather than just letting it sit there knowing that you don't want it anymore. So the fifth thing I have is, taking risks can be good, but it's okay to pass on a deal, right? I've kind of come into this a lot where I see a card, I'm like, man, I really, really want that one. And the seller just won't get down to your price on it, and that's okay. Ralph Cards, actually, I watch a lot of his videos, and he says this a lot, but there will be more deals, unless it's a one of one, that card will pop up again, right? There's other ones similar, and at the end of the day, if it's a PC card, again, it can be different. But if you're buying to sell for a profit, it's okay to pass on a deal, right? You don't have to buy everything that you see that you think might be a good sale. There's definitely some better bets than others, and it can be good to take a risk on a card. But for me, I like buying a card knowing I can at least sell it for what I got it for. If not, again, make some profit on top of it. So just something to keep in mind. Another thing, the sixth point is don't take anything personally when negotiating with a buyer or a seller. Some people are more respectful than others, especially I do all my buying and selling on Facebook, mostly some Instagram. So just, don't take anything personally. It's okay if a person says no, that they don't want to go to your price. It's okay if, you're trying to sell something and they're like, hey, I offer you 50%, right? It's okay to say, no, I'm good, I'll pass. At the end of the day, most of these people you don't know in person anyways. It's okay to just say, all right, all good, we'll move on. I don't want to sell it there. I don't want to buy it there. Again, it's sales at the end of the day. So just, brush it off and say, I might not want to deal with that person again. There's no reason to tell them off. There's no reason to have bad blood between someone. Everyone, in most cases, is just trying to make a little bit of money. So they might be into something high. You might be into something high, and it is what it is. Just move on to the next deal. Number 7, I always try to ship as quickly as possible and always include those costs when buying and selling into my, estimates, what I can make and whatnot. So usually I ship for $4. I use ShipStation, which is PayPal's shipping service. Usually it's $4 USPS first class. Always include that when you're buying, it's $4 there, and always include it when you're selling, $4 there. So that's another $8 cushion for me always that I have to include. Some people want priority, it's usually $8. Just definitely something to think about. And always when you sell, try to get it out the next day the post office is open. It's just good business. People want to come back and say, hey, he got me that card. I got it within 3 days of buying it, 4 days of buying it. So to me, I like getting my cards fast. If I buy it, I want it the next day. So just definitely always get your stuff out as soon as you can. It's good business all around, any type of business, just something to keep in mind. Number 8, do your research. Comps are what they are. You might be like, hey, this is an on-card auto, like that Kevin De Bruyne I sold. It's an on-card auto from Impeccable, one of my cards I bought for the PC. And I'm like, I bought it for $275. It was selling for $300 when I bought it. It's down to $240 now. If I'm able to sell it for that, it is what it is, right? I can make it back somewhere else. But at the same time, I'm thinking that card should be worth $300. Well, it's not. The comp is what it is. Somebody's bought it for $240. That's just what the market value is for it right now. Even if it might be higher than that, and you're like, hey, that's a fluke comp. Most likely the person you're selling to is trying to sell it after you, so they have to use that comp as well, and somebody's going to point that out to them. So again, it's one of those things. Don't take it to heart. Comps are what they are. I use Card Ladder personally. It's $15 a month, and honestly, I wasn't wanting to spend that at first. I was just using 130 point. But some of the rarer cards, which I was kind of getting into with the on-card autos from Immaculate and whatnot from 10 years ago, you just can't find sales history that's good enough to use for the current day. So Card Ladder is what I use, 130 point, also very good, especially if you're getting started. I would just do that. It has all 3 months of sales data from all the sales sites, PWCC, Golden, MySlabs, and eBay, of course. So I would use that. Now, the 9th thing is really important here, and that's say you had $1,000, buy lots, put cards together and get a discount on the price. And with that too, when you're buying the lots, it's easier to just target it. If he says, I have $1,000 on these cards, that's what I want. And you say, okay, well, they're worth $1,000 based on comps. That's what they would sell for. I'll offer 75, 80%. That's usually what I buy for, is 80 to 85. I'm kind of higher than I should be. But just look at it as a percentage. Don't go buy each card. If you total them all up, and just say, hey, I'll do 75% on all of it. And then you say, hey, I'm going to sell for 85%. So that's a 10% cushion there that you have. That's the best way to do it, the easiest way. And you'll see that in all the videos that you watch online of the guys going to the shows. They have percentages that they buy for and then percentages that they sell for. So just look at things, that kind of overall picture, and not just hey, that card's worth $150, I'll pay you $130, and you think, hey, $20, that's a lot to make. well, you're not going to sell it for 150 in most cases unless you find a collector of that person. So it's just easier to think, hey, if I buy for 80%, what is that, like 115, and I sell it for 90%, so it'll be like what, 135, and it kind of in that range. That's what you want to look at, and that's the easiest way to do it. The 10th thing, and to me the most important thing, is just to keep it fun. Buy stuff for your PC. Again, don't take things to heart. Sometimes it's okay to splurge on something that you think is really cool, and maybe you want to move it in a month, 6 months, a year. But at the time, you're just like, hey, I have some money. I want to build the PC. That's how I make it fun. I buy stuff that I like, again, and if I don't sell something, a lot of times I buy stuff not with the plan to sell, and then I end up upgrading to something a little bit nicer in a few months. So, just figure out a way to make it so that it's not a second business, right? Some people want it to be. I like to keep my work separate, and for cards, I like to build the PC, and hey, if I'm going to sell something, I might as well make a profit on it, right? And put that money back into it. It's a good way to build assets and build your collection without having to always pump new money into it. You can take that money from sales and put it into your collection, and again, it'll just raise and raise and raise. And it's in a way too that you don't always have to be thinking about it like, hey, I need to make this amount this month to cover my expenses, right? It's more of a for me, it's more of just a second thing. Like, how can I make an extra $100 a week, $200 a week, and put it into another card, right? And then maybe sell that one for an extra 50. So just figure out a way, think about it. Don't just jump into it without, having some forethought before. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Those are just my 10 tips that I would give anybody getting started into it. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and see you on the next one. Thanks.